Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend workshop. We're so excited that you've joined us today on this chilly December morning, and I'm wearing my reindeer shirt. I don't know if you could see it, but oh yeah, it's kind of out of the lens, but I'm getting in the festive spirit. Hope that you are too. We have Frances on the call today, who's going to be doing a workshop for us, of course, on choosing your best way forward. This is an exciting topic, one that I think is perfectly positioned as we head into 2024, as we're thinking about what's next and what changes can I make or should I make? And today we're going to be talking about some numbers, if I know Frances. And so I think that it will be really a great informed discussion to help you as you move your business forward. So I would love to invite you to connect in the Zoom chat. Go ahead, drop a note into the Zoom chat so people can know what your business is. If you have a website, a link that you'd like to share, maybe it's even your LinkedIn, let us know a little bit about yourself and perhaps where you're connecting from. We would love to have you network as well as learn today. While you're doing that, I'll take a moment to acknowledge that Queen's University is situated on the unceded ancestral territory of the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples. And so working together with women entrepreneurs of all backgrounds and walks of life, we value diversity and richness of conversation and collaboration, as I'm sure many of you know. And this really only comes when we honor and respect each other's heritage. And so I'd in particular like to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples whose resilience, culture, and business philosophies have been such an important part of our shared history. And so thank you so much for those of you who are joining. I encourage you to find out a little bit more about the territory on which you are situated. So thank you so much for joining us today. If you're just joining, I'd love to invite you to connect in the Zoom chat. Let us know where you're connecting from and a little bit about you and your business. As we are moving forward today, if you'd like to drop any burning questions into the Zoom chat, as we're going, I know Frances will be pausing to address some of those questions in case there are any, but maybe you're someone who just wants to hold them to the end. And if that's the case, we'll make sure to pick up those questions at the end of the workshop as well. So for now, Frances, I'm going to hand you the virtual microphone. Thank you so much for joining us. And we should mention that Frances is in Minnesota today. So she is coming to us from the sunny South, which I'm sure Minnesota is not really sunny. But welcome, Frances. Great to have you on the call today.
Thank you. And thank you for that great welcome. Yeah, so Minnesota, I'm west and it is sunny here. So every once in a while, you'll see me look over that way. It's because I have an amazing view out this window. I am a full-time traveler. I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I've just stopped for a month with a friend house sitting. This is my life. This is how I get to live my life. So yeah, I'm a serial entrepreneur, and I owned a bookkeeping business for 15 years. It was one of those cases of I was doing different businesses, and every time I needed some ready cash, somebody would say, "Can you do my books?" And I'd say, "Sure." And I would do them. And then after a while, it was like, doing, that's the one that's working really well. So I did that for 15 years. And in that time, it was really cool. What I realized is that some of my clients were absolutely thriving and some were struggling. And over years, I had, data for 15 years. And it wasn't like you struggle for a while and then started thriving. It was a mindset. It was the way you approached business. And I have like an engineering and science background. So I had to find out what's going on here. And that's what I did. I have studied business since then to find out why some people thrive and some people struggle. So you're getting that from me. As Carrie said, please put your questions in. It's so much easier for me to answer questions than it is to just kind of like talk, because I don't want to be the only one talking. And I will ask you, as we're going forward, I will ask if anybody has stories to tell about the subject that we're talking about. So, as I'm talking, think about, there was a time where that happened to me. And be prepared, please. Okay. Yeah, It's hard not to read this chat. All incredible businesses here and incredible business women. I love this. This is my favorite thing, right? To talk about business with business women who are doing amazing things, and especially talking about numbers and money, because I love that, talking about that, and we don't do it enough. So safe space, open up, and let's talk about it. Okay, I'm going to shut the chat so it's not, so I can be fully focused on you and what we're talking about here. Today, we're talking about your best way forward. This is how to use your numbers and how to objectively look at decisions that you have to make in your business, and also how to use your heart and your gut to help you make those decisions. Because it doesn't, like, you can make the perfect financial decision, but if your heart's not in it, it's not going to work for you. So we want to make sure that every decision we make goes through both of those checks, because it doesn't matter how heartfelt a decision is. If it doesn't make sense financially, it's not going to work either. So you've got to have the both aspects of it, multiple aspects, because then there's other aspects which we'll get into as well. Those are the ones, of course, near and dear to my heart. So first, as we're moving forward, so this is me in San Cristobal de las Casas. It's a cold place in Mexico. Over the last 3 years, I've spent 2 summers in Mexico. I'm going again in a couple of weeks to spend, winters. I keep summers in Canada and then winters in Mexico. And that I travel slowly. So, because I work, it's my life. It's not like, oh, I'm here for 2 weeks, I have to do everything. It's more like, yeah, no, I'll do one thing a week. Meanwhile, I get to, I'll work for a couple hours through the day and then head to the beach. Not in San Cristobal, because there's no beach. It's at the top of a volcano. And yes, that rock was as scary as that looks. That's why I'm holding on for dear life. But man, what a shot, yeah? So this is what I'm talking about. Like, when you're looking at your business, what do you want to get from your business? And the first question, the first framing of that is your life. What do you want to get for your life from your business? And dream big. It's not the kind of thing where you can flip a switch and get anything you want, but you can certainly design your business to be whatever you want it to be, to support you in the life you want. We seem to think that there's, one way to do a business, and there isn't. There's lots of different ways. There's lots of different business models, delivery mechanisms, groups of people to work with. So you get to decide that so that it gives you the life that you want. In order to get that life, in order to get that business, you have to know what it is you want. If you want to travel, you can design. My business has always allowed me to travel because I love to travel. If you want to spend time with family, if you want to be able to pursue a hobby that you really enjoy, your business can support you in anything you want. You just have to design it so that it does. So open your mind. What is it that you want to design your business to do? So that's the very first thing you have to think about is, where am I going? The caterpillar says, if you don't know where you're going, any place will do. And you will get to there. You'll design a business that gets you not where you want to go if you haven't designed it to deliberately to get you where you want to go. Any thoughts on that? Let me open that.
And because of the size of the group today, you can raise your hand, might be quickest, and we can call on you that way. If you have a thought, maybe we're just all thinking, that sounds like a great work day, 2 hours and then go to the beach. Go ahead, Allison, over to you.
I'm so glad to hear you say that. because that's kind of been my whole philosophy is like, I want to make money while I'm asleep. And so I want to be able to create something once and sell it 24/7. And so I've been kind of thinking about that. I was a social worker for many years, and my longest day of social work was 48 hours.
Oh,
And I've had burnout after burnout after burnout. And
yeah.
I'm just like, it's time for me to live, and to figure out how to um, make it so that I can take everything that I've learned and everything I've taught, put it into something that is just everybody can still learn from me, but I don't have to be awake to have them do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And that's a model that's, very, very successful these days. One thing I will say, when you're doing something like that, you're not looking to make one thing. You
No.
want to make 10 things. Okay. Because you don't know which one's going to work.
Yeah. So I have
Right.
multiple streams of revenue. Like I keep thinking about multiple streams.
Yes. And like you could do like courses, but do
Yep.
10 courses or, 10 mini books or 10, like because what'll happen is if you're thinking, I'm going to make one,
No, I'm not
it
gonna make
becomes
one.
the one.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
You're
too
already on it.
ADHD for
You
that.
got it, girl. Yeah.
Kathy, you have your hand up. Over to you.
Frances, I love what you're saying about Allison. I need to connect with you because you and I have so much in common. So I'm going to follow up with you. Frances, I love what you're saying about that. My son is very soon turning 16. So he's all about driving right now. And one of the things, so we let him drive when we're on our cottage roads back out in the country and there's nobody around. And one of the things we talk about is like, look where you want to go. And so this, as you talk about this, it's like setting that vision for off in the future, and then you automatically kind of choose and do things that steer you in that direction. So I have kind of felt like I've been sort of floundering a bit lately, but this idea of like, creating that vision for the future and what it's going to look like is the piece that's just sort of naturally going to kind of pull me in that direction. So I love that concept.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyone else with an answer to that or a response to what Frances is talking about? And if not, we can move on.
Yeah. Okay. Lots of recovering social workers on here, apparently. Okay. Is that a Kingston thing? Or
I think it's just a pandemic thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. So clarity on where we're going. And then as we're saying, okay, let's figure out what's going to happen. First of all, let's look back. And here's a bunch of questions. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send these slides as a PDF to Carrie, and then she can send them all to you. So you don't have to sit down and write all of this. You can, you will get it. So by looking back, because we don't, that's another thing we don't do enough. Like we just keep charging forward. And when we look back, a couple things happen. One is we realize how far we've actually come because we underestimate what we can do, we overestimate what we can do in the short term and underestimate what we can do in the long term. So, we all have that. It's funny, I was talking to my roommate here about this the other day is, we never get everything done in a day that we say we're going to do. But if you look back over your year, you can think about all the amazing things you've done. And then also to be looking at things like, well, what's working for me? And like me in the bookkeeping, right? Like that was working for me. And it took me years to finally say, that's what I'm going to double down on. Because you have to look back at that. Also, what's not working and what can we drop? What can we get rid of? There's a lot of things that come into our business that don't serve us. And especially when we think in terms of the 80-20 rule, that we could be spending a lot of time on things that, yeah, okay, they give us a little bit of results, but let's focus on the things that give us bigger results. And in order to do that, you may have to let some stuff go. So really be mindful and put your attention to the things that you're working on and what results are you getting from those things. Measure this stuff. Let's see. Yeah, what can you let go of? What do you want more of in your business and your life? Right? Like, I was in this international book club, 10 years ago. And somebody asked the question, like, what would your perfect life be like? And I said, I would be reading books, meeting cool people, and going to interesting events. And like 5 years later, I realized I was doing mostly that. And if that's what you want to bring into your life and your business, then, as Kathy says, put that ahead of you and aim towards it, and you'll get there. So what do you want to add into your life? Okay, I can't even see all of my questions because you guys are all in my way, which is fine. Great. What do you want to learn? What brings you joy? So looking back at what you've worked on, what's been part of your life, what's part of your business, and deciding what do you want to bring forward and what do you want to drop. This is an important piece. This will help you immensely. So, and this is a great time of year for that, right? Like hopefully we're all doing that. If you're like me, you're starting to get a lot of people sending you some resources around how to do this, how to do a look back and look forward. I just did this with the Canadian Women's Chamber of Commerce, a little plug for them, amazing group. We did a look back and then we did a look forward and then a financial plan over 3 weeks. So yeah, this takes time and do it. Okay. Any thoughts on that? Looking back and when have you done that and realized something that, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, okay, let's not shit on ourselves. So what's a time where you look back and you realized, I could have done that better, or going forward, I want to do it differently?
You can come off mute. This is maybe a vulnerable question to ask, but for some it might be rhetorical, but that's a great question to say, or to ask ourselves. And I hope some of you are taking notes because some of us will journal about this later. Tammy, go ahead.
It's funny, I was at a Christmas party the other day talking to the previous mayor, and the mayor, when I opened my business 4 years ago, he would come and introduce himself to all the new businesses. And when I was chatting with him this past weekend, I had made a statement to him. He said, you know what? That's the very first thing you said to me when we first met 4 years ago. And the question or the statement I made was, I don't know if I want my handywoman business to be my forever business. I feel like it's just a holding place to get me where I want to be. And it was kind of a revelation. It's like, oh, wow, I've said the exact same thing 4 years ago. So that's been rumbling around.
That's interesting. Yeah. I know. I've been like going through some old documents and stuff and realizing oh man. Yeah. So I just started writing this thing called Perfect Pricing. And I found a document that I wrote like 8 years ago on pricing. It's the same stuff, but yeah, we're farther ahead as well. And the other thing that struck me about that is, how did the mayor remember that? That blows me away where people can remember stuff like that.
I'm a pretty cool cookie, and yeah, pretty memorable that way, I guess.
You're unforgettable.
Unforgettable.
Allison, over to you. I see your hands up as well.
Well, that was a great question. I was thinking about when I had my private practice, and it pays really well. But I would never get clients. And I was like, what is it? What is it? Like, because I know that there's like a million people that need therapy, right? And so I'm like, getting clients shouldn't be a problem. But what I realized was I really didn't like doing that. Like it takes all of my energy and it just kind of sucks the life out of me. And then I don't have anything left for me that fills me up. And so I think that was a huge lesson, I think, in the last couple of years, was I've decided I'm not going to be a clinician ever again. I'm going to just go ahead and put that away because it doesn't fill me up. What fills me up is creating bigger change. And that gives me joy and that fuels my passion. So I think that it's just that this is so great to kind of just look back and go, oh yeah, like what's taking me away from what I really want and what's contributing. And so that's where I'm kind of like, everything's changing right now. It's very exciting times for my business, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Allison. I'm really excited for you.
And it reminds
And
me,
that's a huge revelation, right?
earlier, Frances, you said something about not having just one path. And sometimes, let's say you receive, Allison, the training you received, and there's like, and this is the path you'll go on. And now we realize, oh, why didn't someone tell us there were multiple paths? It's like a best kept secret, right? And now, Allison, you're going off on a different path. And yeah, but no time is wasted, of course, as Frances also said. I think that's key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back over
Yeah.
to you, Frances.
All righty. Thank you. This is so thank you for opening up. This makes it so much more interesting and relevant. Okay. So we've looked back, we've gleaned what we can from there. We know where we're going. Now we're going to look about where we are right now. So where are we now? Which then gives us, this is our dot in time, and now we can figure out our vector from there. Is my math geekness coming out? So, things about income. So, and you'll see that these two statements at the top there are sort of similar, but they are different. And I want to just sort of address that. The money that your business brings in is not your income. That is the revenue to your business. The money you take from your business is your income. Now, even if you're a sole proprietor and all the money that you make in your business is actually your income as far as the tax company or tax CRA is concerned, you have to recognize that the money that comes in your business is the revenue of the business. And then you take your income. Ideally, what happens is the business is taking in more revenue than you need and after expenses, and you take your piece from that. It's a great way to, the hills and valleys of revenue. It's a way to smooth it out. So that means don't take all the money when you've got lots, and then there won't be any when you don't have it. Smooth it out is a way for that. It also means that your business it's helpful to have some money in your business for the things that your business needs. So for instance, and we're going to talk about this more in a little bit too, or tying your finances to what you want to do. But, your business needs to have some money so that it can do the things it needs to do and you want it to do. So, I wanted my business to have money so that it could pay to send me to conferences far away so I could travel. And I made sure it did. So think about those two things as separate. The income for you personally and the revenue for your business. And, the income to you personally is going to be lower than the revenue to the business. Otherwise, the math doesn't work. And then time in your business, back to, not everything gives you the same amount of results. So, get rid of stuff that's not giving you big results. Only focus on the things that give you a lot of results. And then energy, right? Allison talked about the energy she was losing energy in her business, energy from herself by doing the kind of business that she was doing. So switch it up. How much energy do you want to spend in your business? Don't spend more. The first book I wrote was called Your Effortless Business. I believe business can be effortless, not meaning that it's not that you never put effort in, but this whole hustle culture is toxic and it's not necessary. There may be times it's cyclical, right? There's going to be times where you're working harder. Allison, you're going to be making things to sell, and then you can kind of cruise as you build the selling. How effortless is your business, and how effortless do you think you can make your business? Right? There's that you have to think that you can do it too. Think first, and then it happens. If you don't think it, it won't happen. That's part of that. If you see it, you'll, you can't be it unless you see it. You can't, and just, exactly what Carrie was saying. Like, if you don't know that there's multiple paths, you won't look for them. All right, Allison, thank you for putting your hand up.
So one of those things that that I've been thinking a lot, like I was trying to do this maybe over 10 years ago, but the whole landscape has changed. Mm-hmm. So now there's print on demand. Yep. So you don't have to do any work. You don't have to have any storage. People can just order through like a Shopify site or whatever, and they create you can create through Printify or Printful or any of these other print on demand companies, and they package it, distribute it. You really don't have to do any work. So I think that's a huge game changer. And then the other things are like the Learn Worlds or Thinkific, where you can have your curriculum, put it up once and have it generate income 24/7. So, I mean, there's just so many different tools out there that it's been a huge learning process to kind of figure out. And even like this whole thing with Canva, and then there's stuff for podcasting, there's stuff for so many things. Like, I think now is such an incredible time to get out of the box and think creatively. Like I'm even launching t-shirts because Carrie and I were talking about low-hanging fruit, and I'm like, hey, I've always wanted to design t-shirts, so I'm having a blast designing t-shirts.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah. And you know what, that's part of the thing is, like, there's so much opportunity. We have to be able to look at and say, okay, what's the low-hanging fruit? Let me focus on one thing first, and let's get that going. So the thing about making these things is easy, preparing them. It's the selling the selling of it that is the challenge. And the thing that will help you with that most is to lean into who you are, right? The people who need exactly you are looking for you. And your job is to raise your hand and say, here I am, so that they can find you. And the only way to do that is to really be yourself. So don't be afraid. Like, there's a lot of pressure that makes it feel like we have to do things a certain way and be the way that everybody says. But really, the people who are doing well are the ones that are the quirky ones, the cracked ones that let the light in, the ones that have a different way of looking at the world. Because that's, it's easy to find the middle of the road stuff, but most people are looking for something different. So really lean into who you are. Any thoughts on that?
I just want to slide in with a thought back to what Allison was saying so well as well. And the fact that there are so many opportunities for us today and so many directions to go. I find that people can get overwhelmed with the opportunities and the choices and the options. And so they might want to have multiple revenue streams. So they start one, but they don't finish it. They don't launch it. They don't market it. And then they go to the next one. Then they go to the next one. And then they wonder why they're struggling. I'm like, yeah, but you didn't finish the first one, launch it and prove it before you went to the second one. And so I find there's people not getting traction because they kept getting bright, shiny object syndrome. And so like, I'm constantly, and I'm aware of this as well, I have a business, it's like, Carrie, did you finish that? Did you launch it? is revenue coming in before you launch numbers 10 through 20, right? So I just wanted to sort of say that that's sort of the shadow side of the beautiful opportunities we have is we do get distracted a lot, and finishing what you start is a skill that we have to, it's a business skill, finishing what you start. I just want to throw that out there because I think it's key. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm writing that down in great big red letters. Thank you. Sherry.
Sorry, Sherry. Yes, go ahead, Sherry.
No, Carrie, you were speaking my truth, man. That really felt, man, yeah, it is the bright shiny object thing. And I find that I'm doing, this is perfect, by the way. I really appreciate having this conversation. I really, especially at the end of the year. I love there's somebody that posted next year that you're doing a refresh, a review. Fabulous. Francis, these questions are helpful. And I just clicked on many of your businesses. I'm going to be a subscriber. Like, I just feel really good about everything. So, when it comes to finding the path, that I really do, I was going to say chercher the shiny thing, but I think when it comes to what, sort of why did I show up here today was I'm really trying to get a sense of how do I know if the shiny thing is right, and how to sort of cull the herd of the other things that I don't want to be doing. And I find at every team meeting, I'm like, oh, let's try this. And I'm like, Sherry, stop it.
Yeah.
So, how do you, and I love that you said lean into your quirk, because I've been really holding back on who I am, because I want to be professional. I want to be reputable. I want people to know that I'm standing on a foundation of really important pieces from myself and the people that came before me. Yeah. So sometimes I'm afraid to let my quirk show. So I don't, all of that. So I just blawed because there's a lot there.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying. When I owned my bookkeeping business, after like 5 years, I decided to do some branding with it. And so I asked my customers, like, why are you working with me and not somebody else? And like, I'm pretty smart. I'm really good with numbers. I am a very good I was a very good bookkeeper. Not so much anymore. It's gone. You lose it. So I thought they were going to say things like, I know that you've got it done, and you're, all that, right? Which is what you expect people to want from a bookkeeper. No. They said, working with you feels like a warm hug. So
I love it.
Right. So we think that people need something or want something that's, what everybody says. No, they want a warm freaking hug, or they want, or they want somebody who swears at them, in a fun way, or they want, you know what I mean? Like, there's always, people need what we have. So don't be afraid to be out there. And the other thing, the shiny syndrome thing, it will all work if you do it. So pick one and do it all the way. Exactly what Carrie said. All of it will work. You'll learn from it, even if it doesn't give you the results you want. It will give you results if you work it. And then you learn from that, and then you try the new one. You can't try it doesn't, and this is me speaking to myself too. Finish it, do it, and then move on to the next one.
Love it.
Anyone will do.
I love it. And you can't do them all at once. So it's like, okay, what am I going to focus on for these 3 months and etc. Yeah. That takes a lot of discipline. Tammy, over to you.
I just wanted to add quickly, and it goes, I think, hand in hand with this shiny object syndrome, is what question are you asking? Like, what business are you wanting? So, like I said, that this business that I've created I feel is a holding place. And I've had the offer out that I want, but I asked, it's sort of like for the lady who wanted to sell shirts, I would like to sell shirts versus I am going to sell shirts. Mm-hmm. And I find that I kept saying to myself, I'd really like to be a consultant instead of a hands-on person. Well, no, that's not what I should be saying to myself. I have to say to myself, I am going to be that consultant and not going to be the hands-on person anymore. So I think, that mindset shift is kind of integral to this whole picture.
And
Yeah,
I
and I would
just-
take it, sorry, I would take it one step further and just say, I am a consultant versus I'm going to be a consultant. It's like when people say to me, I want to be a writer. Well, you're either a writer or you're not. So write. So be a consultant. You're not going to be a consultant. You are a consultant. You may not have consulting gigs yet, but you are a consultant. Okay, I cut somebody off there. I'm sorry.
Who was starting to speak? Was it you, Aaron, maybe?
I
Go
think it was you, Erin.
No, I was just gonna say the same thing. I think once you've decided, be decided, I am. And then everything in your plan, so when you're making up your day plan, your week, your month, your year, your quarter, how are you aligning with what you are? Because you can only be what you are. So if you're a consultant, your actions align with what consultants do. If you don't know what consultants do, then your job is to figure out what consultants do, because that's what you do now. So that's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, thank you, Erin. Well said, too. All right. That's so cool. I love this discussion. This is awesome. Okay, so we've put it into our mind where we're going. We've looked back, gleaned what we can. We know where we are now. Now what's next? Okay, now we do some research around research to give us some ideas of the different paths. Okay, Tamara. Tamara, you had something you wanted to say?
Your hand's up, Tamara. Did you want that? Go ahead.
So sorry. I'm on a cell phone today. I forgot my laptop and I don't know how to do all the stuff. I'm like flipping around trying to get my hand. So I'm a little late to the discussion, but
No
I just
problem.
I just wanted to add a couple quick things because I've done this journey almost 10 years now and it's always changing, right? Like evaluating and reevaluating where you are, where you want to go, what you actually want your business to be, what you want your life to look like. It's a huge challenge. And I think we're in a good position to do it as women because I think we're very thoughtful and we tend to be more, I don't know if not more balanced, but trying to have balance in all areas, looking after our kids, making sure our businesses are like, it's all a challenge. And I have found it probably the number one challenge to have the best path forward, essentially, which is why I'm here. But the insight I really wanted to share was someone gave me a great piece of advice, and it was in terms of like competitiveness or moving your business forward or building a great business, it was don't really think about your business as like being in competition with others. Think about your business as being you. And only you can build your business. And only you can bring all of the qualities and skills and magic that you have to make your business great. And if you follow that, you'll build something that's like completely unique and is essentially you, and that no one can really copy because no one's you. Yeah. So it's like your biggest competitive advantage, I think, to really embrace exactly what everybody's talking about here, which is like your authenticity and like yourself and the whole thing about work-life balance. So you can actually keep going over the longer term, which is challenging, So I just want to throw that in. Sorry, I was late trying to figure out how to.
Oh, don't worry. That was worth it. That was worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think about competition. Partly because when I had my bookkeeping business, there were other bookkeepers in the area, and we actually, we talked. We weren't competitors because we knew that anybody that was coming to me was coming to me because of what I had to offer, and going to somebody else because it wasn't a good match with me. Like that's just the way it is. So I love that, Tamara, that put your authentic self out there so that the people who want you can find you. And to tell you the truth, my biggest competitor as a bookkeeper was not doing your books because a lot of people just didn't do their books. My second biggest competitor was the wife, cousin, aunt, sister, always a woman, does them. So the competition that we have is very rarely other businesses. It's other things. So yeah, don't even worry about competition. Be you, and that will be the right answer. Which kind of brings me to this first point here. So when you're doing research on, where you are to where you want to go, what are some of the options, recognize that there are people out there who are doing what you want to do, and get inspiration from them. Don't copy them, because they're doing what they're doing and it's working for them because of who they are. And when you're going forward, you take what you can from it, and then let the rest go, or adapt it to you, or do it the way you want. And that's where I'm saying, okay, what excites you about it? What gets your brain firing? Now, that's not to say that there isn't hard work involved, and that there's going to be things that you're going to do that you don't particularly want to do, but that has to get done in order to get the results. So that's the other thing too, is to look at what people are doing that are similar to what you want to do, and look at the duck legs under the water working frantically, even though it looks like they're sailing through life easily. There's work there. It doesn't have to be hustle, but sometimes it's the work. For me, I'll tell you, it's reaching out to people and asking for the sale. I find that really hard to do, but my business will not work if I don't do it. So understanding that those pieces are there for you will help you immensely in being able to go forward with that. So look at what other people are doing, look deeply at what they're doing. Don't take it wholesale, but take what you can and what you need from it. And then take time away for ideas to settle. We were talking right at the beginning about going for walks. That's so important. This idea that, because I also said, I work a couple hours a day and then I go to the beach. And that's because for that couple of hours a day, I'm working concentrated, deliberate work, where I also know that I have spent 8 hours and done the same amount of work, right? That, we only have so much really good work time, and then we need to recharge. So it is possible to shorten your day, focusing. I'm really, strict on the 20-80 rule, and I let a lot of stuff go because I know that it's not as important as the other stuff. And I give myself lots of time away so that I know when I sit down, I've got the energy, I've got the ideas, and I'm ready to go. Yeah, I've been in this place for a month and I've just been so lazy. And I know, because I know I need it. Cycles, right? But yeah, so I'm spending more than a couple of hours a day, but still only doing what I would do in a couple hours a day. And forgiving myself for it. Okay, thoughts on that?
Love this. Anybody with feedback? Where does this land with you? Go ahead, Sherry.
I just love that you said that you were, and use the word lazy, and I don't see that as lazy. I do see it as a recharge, but you're giving yourself permission, and in saying it, you've given the rest of us permission as well, and it is about the framing of, what we're doing in those moments, because like I was writing down, I was answering some of the questions that you had, and I was like, what do I enjoy, or where do I want to be, or what fills me? Somebody asked, and I'm like, some days I just love cozy, and I got very excited the other morning, Saturday morning. My husband got out of bed and then he went in and sat on the couch with a blanket and a cup of coffee, and he started watching a movie at 9 o'clock in the morning. And that's never happened. I know, but that's all programming. And so
Yeah.
I got so excited And I crawled in beside him with a cup of coffee, and I was like, and we haven't done it since, but I was like, I realized how much that it was surprising, but also
Yeah.
that we gave ourselves permission. And I haven't told anybody this. So yeah, giving yourself
Yeah.
permission. I think there's that, getting rid of the guilt, the connection to guilt on this, because recharging ourselves comes in a variety of different packages and activities. So thank you.
Yes. Yes. Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's hilarious. I love that. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
the recharging word. I also like recalibrating, because I think actually while you're
Okay.
in that restful state, your brain is recalibrating, getting ready to push you further. Like, like
Yeah.
it's like a bow and arrow. You pull back to surge forward. And so that's how I see it. I absolutely love that
Yeah.
thought, Sherry.
Yeah. Yeah. And like this past month, I have recalibrated my mindset in so many ways. It's just, yeah, the place and the roommate I have here, it's just all come together to do. I love that. Recalibrate. Your brain needs time to fire properly, to make new pathways. So this isn't just like self-care. This is necessary for you to be able to assimilate and use all of this work that you're doing. And if you don't take this time, you will have wasted the time and that work.
So true. It's like it's not an option, but we treat it
Yeah.
like an option. Sherry, over to you.
Oh, and sorry, I couldn't resist just the idea of self-care, recalibration, recharging. There's a new sort of self-care lens that myself and the team have been creating, because self-care for me stresses me out. Like the word stresses me out, and every model seems like it's got 13 different things. And even just looking at self-care structures I feel like I'm failing. And so when you said the word recalibration, some of the clinicians I get to work with, we talk about our nervous system, and I'm just going to plant the seed for all of us, because when we can actually redo our nervous system, recalibrate, we can relax, we can manage our thoughts. We're always looking for safety, and I like to tell people that we're meat suits walking through this world trying to be safe, and so our nervous system is constantly trying to. So if you do some research and look into how do I really pay attention to my nervous system, what are the cool things that I can do? And there's some simple techniques where when I'm now sitting, I'm no longer, I'm like, and it changes everything. So I'm just planting. If you do one thing in self-care, pay attention to your nervous system.
I love that. Aaron, over
I
to
love
you.
that.
Sorry, did you want to comment, Francis, before we move to Aaron? Sorry.
No, I'm just agreeing. I love that. Yeah. And actually, you know what? I have a question I do want to throw out to all of you. But we'll let Aaron go.
Thanks. I've just been really curious lately. I've never heard as much about cycle syncing and really paying attention to us as biological beings. Women are far more prone to both mental health issues, it would seem, although we may just be higher reporters than men, and autonomic nervous system and immune system issues than men. We may be higher reporters, we may not be. The data is not really entirely clear, but it does seem like we're taking a big toll. All the stress is taking a big toll. And in my midlife, I gotta tell you, I was told to like never pay attention, like don't let my cycle interfere in any way with my productivity. Like just act like it's not happening. You can push through. And like women are crazy strong, because now that men are having these experiences where like this is what a period feels like, and they're incapacitated. I'm like, go to work, baby. Go to work, you've got stuff to do, like the deadlines due, everything's due, nothing's changing because you're having a moment. And I'm from a Scotch-Irish background, you don't even take a day, like unless you are incapable of movement.
Yeah.
So I remember as a child, it was the first time my mother ever let me stay home, and I was like, I must be dying, like if she's actually taking this seriously, because this is a Scotch mom, 5 foot nothing, she's tough. I could stay home, I'm like, wow. Okay, but like it's the first time in my life, and especially in my professional life, I'm hearing anybody talk about this. So just kind of that whole idea of cadence and season and cycles.
Yeah.
And it leads the question, how much healthier would we be? And therefore, how much more productive would we be if we leaned into these cycles, both on a monthly and a seasonal time frame where you know that as a biological being infused in hormones that you have some control over, but not entire. What if you worked with them? What if it wasn't a curse? What if it was how you could reorientate your workflow? What if that is actually non-negotiable, and by embracing it, you get to be the leader of the pack instead of being like, no, that's for other weak people who, so I'm just really curious about that. And I wonder, it sounds like you're leaning into some of that, which like, and let's say this for younger women to be like, as it turns out, you're in a body and you're not a small man. You're actually a different kind of creature that will work entirely differently. And those rhythms and cadences will be your superpower if you figure out how to manage them well. You do not have to have depreciating mental health, autoimmune health, or you don't have to have that. That's not a requirement to be a productive member of society. It's not a benchmark of success or bragging rights. It's actually proof that you're not doing it as well as you biologically, intuitively know how to. So I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. And you know, recognizing that there are times of the month where we want to be social. And there are times of the month where we don't want to be. We want to cocoon. We want to, you know, curl up on the couch with a blanket and watch a movie. So let's do that. You know, use those times of the month for the introspection work. Use the times of the month or the season or the, you know, whatever your cycles are, you know, go with that. Go with it. And it yes, it makes you more productive, but it also makes your life better. And just makes your life better. And and your business. And give yourself permission to do that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that, you know, thank you for shining a light on that.
Anna, over to you.
Just to follow up on the biological, is we also live in Canada, which at this time of year, like I've suffered from SAD for all my life, and you know, been on drugs and everything else because I had to keep working, and in my business, this is my busiest time of year too, and I'm just exhausted, and all I want to do is, you know, be on the couch with a comforter and watch movies at 9 o'clock in the morning, you know. So I think we also, that's something else that I'm taking into account now too, is my energy levels and how I relate to the light and the time of year, and those factors, as I am postmenopausal. I don't have to so much deal with all of those things anymore, but there's still always, we're so disconnected in our work from our environment and our natural world, and our bodies.
Yeah. And even postmenopausal, we still have cycles, right? Like, you know, there are still hormonal cycles. So I have a question, and this is one I've been grappling with for a long time, and it seems like this is a good group to throw it out to. I mentioned the fact that there are things that we have to do in our business that we don't really want to do. And there are things I have to do in my business that really, I can feel the stress, and it's harmful stress. I can feel that. I also know if I don't do this stuff, I am not going to succeed. So what do we think about that? How do you, I don't like the word balance because things don't balance, but things cycle, I guess. So how do we manage that cycle in a way that's not going to harm our health? I'm throwing it out to you because I think there's some answers here.
Go ahead, Tammy.
I think it's having the courage to say no.
What if it's things that you have to do in your business?
You don't have to do it. If it's not good for you, then I say don't do it.
Yeah. So I'm going to get real personal here. Like, in order for me to do the work I want to do, I have to reach out and talk to people, you know, and which I find very, very difficult. If I don't do that, I'm not going to get results, and I may as well go get a job. So I don't want a job.
I would try and identify what part of reaching out to people like, and then if you can have someone help you with the part that is the really uncomfortable part, because there's a lot of steps to reaching out to someone.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just thinking, Tammy, about that. Is like, is it the coming up with the words in the sales pitch email? Because maybe someone could help her craft the perfect sales pitch. And honestly, then it's just like sending out 100 emails a day because you've got the perfect pitch and it's one that doesn't make her feel icky. I like that point. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that's very helpful. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like putting
No, I
myself
think
in.
this is great.
Yeah, I'm hoping a lot of times when we ask something, it is helpful for everybody. Okay,
Kathy, over to you.
thank you. Yeah, thank you. That helps. All right,
We'll go
who is
Kathy,
next?
Kathy, Kenna,
Okay.
and then Tamara.
Okay.
So I can relate to what you're saying with this, Francis. And I think where I kind of come to is like when I notice that there are things in my business that I have to do that I don't want to do, I know personally, I notice the stress in me. And so I think what I'm going to say here probably relates to what Sherry's talking about in terms of, so for me, it's around money stuff. And I know it's like old, programming that I've been given about money, from my family of origin and stuff like that. So I know there's stuff there, but what I feel is like this tension that just happens in my body where I just don't even want to look at my bank account. And like, realistically, logically, I know I'm fine. It's okay. But it's like this automatic kind of stress response. So one of the things that has been really helpful for me is like when I notice that stress and tension, I just stop and take a breath. And I think it's along lines of what Sherry's talking about is like just recentering myself and grounding and taking a breath and having a moment to just kind of remind myself, you're okay. Right here, right now, in this moment, as you take a breath, you're okay. And so it's like recentering myself, coming to a place where I feel really calm. And then the next step, if I have time to kind of stop and think about it and reflect, I actually go to this place of, it might sound super weird, but I'm like, what's the worst thing that could happen? And so I imagine the very worst case scenario about my bank account. What if it's at absolutely zero? What's the very worst thing that could happen? And then I kind of like sit in that for a second. Yeah, that would really suck. I'd feel really crappy about it, but I'd probably just go get a job at Starbucks and it'd be fine. So it helps me kind of realize my own resilience and my own ability to cope with no matter what kind of comes up, and just sort of resets it.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
That's
Thank
helpful.
you.
Kenna, over
No
to you.
problem.
Yeah, I do really practical exercises on paper so I can see them, and I write the things I love to do and the things I don't love to do. And if there's a way to, and I really look at the things I don't want to do so that I can minimize my time on those, and also see if there's other people who can help me with those or who are better at it than I am. And then I also, what I'll do is I will incentivize myself. If I have tasks to do, I'll order them that I do something I don't like to do, and then but with something I really love to do after it, so that I'm working towards that. And so I just do it and I get it done.
Nice.
Great.
Tamara.
Awesome.
Yep. Am I unmuted? Yes.
Nope, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. One thing that really helps me is imposing structure on myself. So for many years, I ran my business as a farm, a rural-based farm, and I had like unlimited access to my workplace, right? Like nonstop. And so it's good to have a work day. So now I have imposed like a schedule on myself where I have a set work day, I work those hours, and then I try to turn the business off and just have a normal life in the evening. And I think like no matter what kind of business you're running, and any job you're ever going to have anywhere, there's always going to be things you don't want to do. There's always parts of it you don't like. I try to schedule the stuff that I don't want to do first in the day and get it over with, and then stop at a certain time and try to take the evening off, or try to have that day off a week or whatever, where you actually get to rest and recover. But you have to create the boundaries around it. And then, yeah, I'm at work. And it's like, yeah, you're your own boss, but you're still at work and you do the jobs, whether you like them or not, while you're there. And then when you're done, you go home. And I think that, at least for me, that's how I manage my business at this stage.
I love it. So you're your own boss. So you have to listen to the boss.
Exactly. Then you have to be your own boss. You have to
You
make
have to be
yourself
the
do-
boss.
You
Yeah.
have to
You have
make
to be the
yourself do the
boss.
stuff, because there's always stuff we don't want to do. And believe me, like, yeah, everyone knows working for someone else, there's going to be even more of that. So,
Yeah.
you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Tammy,
Yep.
over to you for the last word, and then I'll let Francis take it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I'd like to echo what Tamara just said. And for me, that's the whole, and I've said this before, it's the stress without distress, you know, and if there's going to be stress, but how does it make you feel? I've always been a community minded and oriented person and have always wanted to volunteer in a community. A position recently came up where it was an ideal fit for me, but when I actually got into it, it gave me the ick factor. And I got that feeling of when I left the city 5 years ago, I didn't want to be in those boardroom meetings anymore. And that's exactly what it was. And I said, you know
Oh.
what? This isn't for me. And when I left that and I said, you know, yes, I can really help you. Yes, I benefit the company or like the community organization, but it wouldn't make me feel good at all. So I left it. And when I came home, the email that was waiting for me was an opportunity for a different volunteer organization that did fit within me feeling maybe a little bit stress, but not distress.
Oh, very good. Very good. Okay. So let me recap what I just heard there. So break it up, figure out which parts are are giving you the stress and work with that. Center yourself. That, and you're absolutely right. In every moment, we are fine. Be practical about it. Break it down and, you know, look at the components, which is similar to the first, but slightly different. Create the structure and the environment around you to support you in the work that you're doing. And do it in a way that works for you. Recognize that oh, there it is, huge, bing. That's you, Tamara. You did that. Or sorry, Tammy. Do it in the way that works for you. Just because everybody says it has to be done a certain way, it doesn't have to be done that way. Do it the way you want to do it. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. All right. This has been amazing. Okay, let's move on. So we've got our vision of where we want to go. We've looked back, gleaned what we can. We figured out where we are. We've done some research to figure out some cool ideas of what we could do to get us there. And now we're going to brainstorm. We're going to take all of what we've just been playing with and come up with some ideas of, here's what I think I want to do. And I want to remind everybody, you're going to get these slides, so you don't have to write everything down. You can if you want, of course, but yeah. So use whatever brainstorming methodology you use. Sticky notes are good. It's always helpful to have other people's input. Other people see you in different ways, and it can have very, very good you know, ways of looking at what you're doing and some really good ideas for you as well. And don't, like, sometimes you have to think 10x. And like, you have to think bigger, because when you're in a spot, and this is kind of the danger of thinking about, here's where I am, there's where I want to go, what's the line that'll get me there? First of all, we know it's going to be a squiggle. It's not going to be a line. And it also, there's also that idea of the thinking that got me here won't get me there. So we have to, like, we know where we are, but we have to kind of break out of that. And this is what, you know, this is where brainstorming, good quality brainstorming, will let you come out of that. So, you know, give yourself the gift of good quality brainstorming on this. Give yourself the gift of time, asking people to help, do some research on on how to brainstorm. Think about how you've brainstormed in the past over other things. You know, like, you know, brainstorming around a kid's birthday party, you know, brainstorming around creating a trip, brainstorming around, you know, dinner, you know, yeah, you know, what car to buy. Like, how have you done that in the past, in whatever way you do it, and then bring that same thinking into this? Does that make sense? Brainstorming's so much fun, you know, but it can be, yeah, this is because this is where your ideas are coming from. And then after that, you're going to have some ideas. And now what do you do? So this is where we get into it. You're going to model it, test it, and refine it. And let me move my thingy here so I can see what I'm doing. Right. You're going to be modeling it financially, time-wise, energy-wise, and desire. So you've got a couple of different ideas of things you want to do. Go back to your outcome. Make sure that they are all going there. As you're looking at each one, what's the riskiest bit? A lot of times the riskiest bit is, will anybody buy this? And so many of us will spend our time building it before we know that anybody will even buy it. So that's one thing you were going to want to test fairly early on. Another thing is it feasible? I've worked with clients who told me, yeah, if I sell 100 units a week, I'll be great. And then I asked them, well, how many can you make? And well, I can make 30. so there's a problem, right? So you have to test those kinds of things. So when I say test, that's where we talk about making models. And this is where the financials start coming in. So in order to make a model for something like this, this is a whole course in how to model and test and refine. But I'm going to give you the overview on it. What you want to do is create a financial picture as if this is working. So your financial picture is going to have things like, what's the revenue and the expenses? If this is working, what are the revenue and expenses of that? If this is working, how is the cash going to flow through my business? Because cash flows, we know, is queen. You know, if we don't have the cash when we need it, we're in big problems. And then things like time. If this is working, how much time is it going to take? And do I have it? If this is working, am I working from my best place? Is the energy the good kind of energy that I want to have in this? And if this is working, am I going to be happy about it? And can I picture yourself through a day of it, picture yourself through a week of it, run the numbers of, what does the next year look like if this is all working the way I want it to? And then, like I say, test as you build that out. You're going to say, I'm not sure if I can only make 30 and I need to sell 100. How do I fix that? Or do I move to a different model? Right. So as you're looking at it, figure it out. So if I can only make 30 so therefore I'm going to get 3 more people to make 30. So now we've got 120, but I have to pay them. So now the numbers change. So, you build these models of how that works. If I have to pay them, then I make this much. So then how many do I have to make if it goes that way? The math is fairly straightforward. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to try and teach you that right now. Does that help? Yeah, I need some feedback here.
Yeah, and so when you're talking, it sounded like there's a bit of a formula though. Like, is there a formula?
Yes, there is. Yes, there is. It's been a while. So you look, yeah, your fixed cost. So you have to know how much it costs you to run for a month, right? So your fixed costs are the income that you want, which we've already decided earlier, and then the cost that it for your business to run. So that's the software that you're buying. That's the your cell phone, you know, those kinds of expenses. That's your fixed cost. Your variable cost is how much does it cost to make each of those units. So most of you are service, but I'm going to use a product at this point just to give you the numbers. Right. Let me just pop that into the chat so that you can see it too. So you've got your fixed cost. So fixed cost plus. So you want to know how many units you're going to make. So that's your X. I'll give it to you in a second. X fixed cost. Yes. So how much does it cost you to make each unit? So in this case that we're talking about, there's going to be some supplies, but there's also going to be the labor because you're asking other people to come in. So how much does that cost? And that's the variable cost. I'm going to do it that way. And then to break even, that has to equal your X, however many you're making, times your price. Okay. So that's the formula. So to solve for X, that's the formula. So X, when you want to solve for X, X equals, what does X equal? X equals, oh man, it's been a while since I've done algebra.
X is your break-even point, you said?
That's your break-even point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for every unit above that, you're making some profit. And of course you want to make profit. You must make profit because you're in a business. All right. We're not shitting on ourselves. Profit allows you to handle problems as they come. It allows you to have some money there for new projects that you want to do. Thank you. Yes. No, sorry. X is the number of units. That formula is your break-even point. Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear that right.
I deleted that so you can add in what it is. It's just useful.
Okay.
This is good because this is nitty-gritty stuff, right? So
yeah, okay. Yeah. X equals number of units. So the formula is your break-even. I'm going to have to play with that because my head's not really in algebra right now. So you know what?
Fun, but that
yeah.
makes
sense. Yeah. So basically, yeah. Okay. So when you're doing it for a service business, so your units then are hours. That's what you have available. So you need to get your fixed costs. You need to know what that is, which let's include profit into that. Then basically it's just a straight up, your price per hour. But bear in mind that you're not billing, you're not lawyer. You're not going to bill every 15 minutes that you're working. You're going to be billing a percentage of the time that you're working because you're spending time on sales, marketing, customer service. There's a lot of things, your administration, a lot of things that you're going to be spending your time on as well. So when you're doing that, so let's say you've decided that in a month you need to make $8,000. That's for your income and for your expenses and some profit. And you want, in a month, there's 20 working days in a month times, 8 hours, 160 units. So, but you're not going to be billing all of that. So suppose you bill half of it. So now it's 8,000 divided by 80. So you need to be charging at least $100 an hour. If, assuming this all works. So charge more. But at least that that's the minimum you have to charge if you're going to be working a regular sort of 8-hour day, regular days, if that's what you want. And if you want something different, then change those numbers. I will add some formulas. I will add a sheet with some of these formulas when I send this, okay?
Sounds good.
Let me just write that down so I remember to do that.
It's a good discussion though, because so a lot of people randomly choose their hourly rate and such. So I'm glad you covered it. And so thanks so much for putting that little bonus piece in there.
Yeah, and bear in mind that there are 7 different ways to come at pricing. And this is only one of them. There's also things like, how much does your customer need to pay in order to engage in the work deeply enough to get the results? That's one that people don't often think about, but that's really important, especially when it's a service business like we're talking about here. People need to be able to engage in order to get the transformation, in order to do the change. And money is a huge incentive in doing that. Yeah. Okay. And one other piece on that is your rate, your price is part of the story that you tell of who you are. And so, and never be the low cost option. It doesn't matter how inexperienced you feel, don't ever be the low cost option. You want to be sort of pushing the limit of where your market is. And at every price point, there will be people who will tell you that you're too expensive and people who will not work with you because you're not charging enough. So choose the price point that makes you happy.
Yeah. Allison, we'll go to you next. I just want to signal to Frances, we have about 6 or 7 minutes left.
Oh.
Really?
So
Oh, shoot.
So one of the things that I do for when I'm doing training or presentations is I ask what the budget is. So for some presentations, for maybe an hour or two, I can get like 500, but then I've also gotten up to 2,000. Yep. So it just really varies depending on what their budget is for that particular event. So it's always good to ask. Sometimes people are afraid to ask, but it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. Think in terms of like, you can say no. If their budget's 500 and you're getting 2,000, well, you can say no. You can also, I would also make sure that they know that your cost is, or that your usual cost is 2,000. And if you choose to give them a deal, then that's fine. Don't do that too often because it's not your job, right? It's not your job to just do the same work for lower price just because somebody doesn't have the same budget. Also bearing in mind that sometimes you want to go one price for nonprofit, another price for for-profit business, and that's valid too. And sometimes you can just take things off the table. If they want to pay a lower price, well, maybe you don't, I don't know what, you don't make the workbook for it, or there's something you can do that's take some things off the table, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm gonna let's go to the next slide. Okay, Holy moly. And I think that's, yeah, that's it. So we've done all the work. You've tested a couple of models. Now you make your decision and then sit with it. And this is where you check. This is your gut check, your heart check. You know, now that you've made your decision, how many times have we done this where we've made a decision and we know it's the right decision? Yes. You know, there's that relief that comes through your body and your heart kind of lifts. And then sometimes we make a decision and you get that little knot of dread in your stomach or wherever you get it on your body. That just is like, oh, shoot, that's not what I wanted. And at this point, you can still go back and make it and change it. So take that time. We've talked about this a couple of times now. Take the time to just think about it for a minute. Then you get started. And so this is one of those things where, you know, I do something really easily. We all do something easily and we don't think there's a value in it. For me, I've managed multi-million-dollar construction projects and, you know, previous life, that was some of my business. And so I have really good project management practices. There are ways to make sure that these things get done and done well. All right. So that's that. Okay, we still have a few minutes for a couple questions, I think, Carrie?
Yeah. So are there any questions? And I think you're going to have a few folks signing up for that free 30-minute session because there's value. And like I always suggest, if you're booking a session, be specific on your question so you can get the most out of that 30-minute session. So that's on you guys to prepare the precise question. Sometimes we don't know the question. Now I get that. But any questions? Speaking of questions, just to wrap up today, we've got about 9 minutes actually. Sorry, I misspoke earlier. We have about 9 minutes left. And so if anyone has a question, let's bring that up, or a comment, a thought. Just put your hand up, your reaction button, hopefully, although I'm scanning the list in case I'm missing anybody.
Is there anybody that hasn't had a chance to talk and wants to?
That's a good point. Any introverts out there who've been hanging back? And I only say introverts because I am one. And so I know what your deep thought process is like. Don't be shy. This is for you. We organize this for you. Francis, if you could put your Calendly chat into your Calendly link into the chat. That would be awesome. Thank you. Sorry, I can't grab that, Sherry, but I'll let her do that.
Okay. I think that worked. Wahoo.
It did. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, you've given us so much food for thought. And what I've been thinking, as you've been saying, is this couldn't have come at a more perfect time, because not everyone, but a lot of us will have a little time over the holidays, right? And so, you know, as we get geared up for 2024, what better way to start the year than on a track to grow and develop the business you want? And so I think that this is a lot of food for thought. We're digesting right now. We are digesting. Some are going to go back and watch this a couple times.
Yeah.
Can we go back to the last slide? Aaron, Francis, can we go back to the last slide? Aaron is asking. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Any final questions as we're wrapping up today? I want to give you a moment. We'll pause. And actually, I'm going to stop the recording. Actually, Kathy, just before you do that, I'm going to stop the recording in case someone has a question they don't want recorded. So if you're joining us on YouTube, thank you very much. We're going to wrap up for today.